Guys, welcome back, and today we have another week of B-Way box office, so let's get into it. Up first, and Juliet, 100% to 97%, and 1,070,249 to 958K for a huge 111K drop. And Juliet has done amazing over the past year, only having a bad month in May, and since then it's held pretty solid, so And Juliet is not going anywhere anytime soon. Vista Social Club continues a brilliant, dominant run box office wise, 96% last week and 97% this week. 1,135,248 last week and 1,064,434 this week. Cabaret, 81% to 84% and 648K last week to a totally devastating 587K. So many are questioning why is it doing so poorly. There's been various Cabaret revivals, almost too many, that I don't think people are interested in seeing a new production unless they like it, and this is a very divisive production, even when Eddie was in it. And the Sam Mendes production is so acclaimed, and it was on Broadway for like 6 years, that there was no need for this. I think this only would have worked if they did a Sunset Boulevard-esque revival with it, and I guess they did in a way, but in a way they also didn't, because it was a very traditional production in a lot of senses. It was just immersive. Billy Porter is not a very big name, I guess, as much. Well, Billy Porter is a name, but I don't think he's got that draw that he once had, plus his comments on the Today Show, or whatever show he was on, I think hurt it significantly at the box office. And again, I think this model of having a star-studded cast that comes in for a revival, but are not contracted for a full year, is not a sustainable business model, because the stars after that tend to be of a lesser quality, and then the show closes shortly afterwards, like Hello Dolly, Cabaret. The only show that did it very successfully was Merrily, which ran for almost a year and had very low production costs compared to Cabaret and Hello Dolly, which had very expansive production costs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they close early. Death Becomes Her, 96% last week, and 1,251,355 to 98% this week, and 1,393,417. Gypsy, 73% to 67%, and 984K to 942K, and that is closing in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Hadestown manages to have a very solid year so far, 100% last week, and 743K to 99% and 716K. Hadestown has had a solid summer and a very solid 2025, proving that it can last without stunt casting, and as long as it has a 7 or an 8 in front of it, I think it's fine. It has yet to have a 6 or a 5 in front of it consistently. That's when we're going to start to get concerned, but for now, I think Hadestown will make it into next year, and if it does close, I think it will close in January of 2027. But for right now, it is doing very good numbers. Albeit, this is a lot smaller than they want, but it's just about making even weekly, I'd assume. Hell's Kitchen, 90% to 84%, and 968K last week to 839K this week, a pretty significant drop. But Hell's Kitchen has had an amazing year, even after its stars left, which was a huge draw, and it getting panned by critics. Oh, it didn't get panned by critics, but critics were mixed on it, even though the Times gave it a critics pick. And this is a significant drop, but it's been doing high 900s and early millions, even in January and February. And so, yes, it's had a couple of weeks of 800. So this is not the end of the show. It's going to be here a year from now. It might go into the 7s, but it will go back up in Christmas and Thanksgiving. They can easily stunt cast this, and I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. Though again, if I'm a producer, I wouldn't be so happy that in its second summer, it fell so hard. You know, you would hope that it would be under 100K and that you would see this next summer as opposed to this summer. Just in Time sells out, and 1,316,682 to 1,321,510. Maybe Happy Ending sells out again, 1,382,284 to 1,401,674, and expect that to go up into maybe the 1.6, 1.8 with Darren leaving in a few weeks. It'll be very interesting to see how it does with Andrew, but Best Musical winners, even if they have their big star leave like Darren Hansen did, it's not going to go from 1.3, 1.4 to 800, 700K. The lowest I'd see this falling is 1,071,000, maybe 980K, but it can take those hits because it has not had a negative week in months. It's been making box office bananas, and a show doesn't do this well and then fall off the cliff. So even if Andrew wasn't in the show, this still would do very, very well, and I think the controversy, like I've said before, will not hurt the box office. Moulin Rouge is dead in the water. 97% last week and 1,085,976. 96% this week and 986K, even with stunt casting. Mincemeat, 98% and 730K last week, and 94% and 657K this week. Again, their production costs are quite low, so this is actually not a bad week for Mincemeat, but after having a very momentous start to the summer, it's definitely faltered. As long as it doesn't have a 5 in front of it, it's fine. And the great thing about their limited engagement is if it does go into the 5s and 4s, they can say, hey, we always plan on closing. But I think if they can stay above the 600K area, I think they will extend again. Obviously, having a 6 in front of it is not good for any show, and Mincemeat definitely is feeling the pressure of the low as the summer winds down. But for a show that's so inexpensive, this is not horrible. 6, similar situation, 85% last week, 82% this week. 762K last week, 713K this week. Not a bad year overall for 6, but it had a very tough May and June. But it's managed to kind of get back up there towards the end of the summer. But it's recouped its investment. It's a cheap show to run, and I do think this will be here a year from now, although we're definitely seeing it in its more twilight, softer number years. Even if it has a 6 or a 5 in front of it, I think we would have to do that for like a consistent year for it to close. Stranger Things, 82% to 76%, and 1,091,408 to 970K, a huge disappointment, I mean, truly. Gatsby, 92% to 87%, and 985K to 946K. It's had a pretty good year even after Eva and Jeremy left. Actually did better then. And these are still fantastic numbers for Gatsby. It's definitely not... 946K is the lowest they want to go. And even if they do have an 8 in front of it, which they have had at the beginning of the year, I think they're going to be here a year from now and doing just fine. The Outsider sells out, and 1,237,577 to 1,231,912 being a huge success. So those are my thoughts on the box office. Like, sub, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.